Who else loves mystery? Who else dream of seeing the sunken Titanic ship? Or imagine meeting mermaids in real life? That curiosity, that hunger to see what's beneath the surface is exactly what Adrienne Rich taps into her 1973 poem, Diving into the Wreck. But let me be clear, this isn't just about long, lost, sunken histories of gold, the treasures, the pearls, or even the shipwreck in the literal sense. Yes, let me tell you, this poem is about truth, identity, and putting away of all the myths that we have been told about gender, power, and history. Adrienne Rich wrote this during the early 1970s. It was a period of second wave feminism where all the women everywhere, they were questioning all the rules and the limitation that the society had set upon. Even he herself was defining her life as a poet, mother, and a woman. She was trying to find a voice in the world that often refused to listen. And a fun fact, Diving into the Wreck won National Book Award, and later she shared it with Alice Walker and Erde Lorde. It was a symbolic victory for all the women whose voice was once silent. Diving into the Wreck, 1973. First, having read the book of myths and loaded the camera, and checked the edge of the knife blade I put on, the body armor of black rubber, the observed flippers, the grave and awkward mask. I am having to do this, not like a CEO with face or do Sean's team. I brought the sun-flooded schooner with first stanza. The diver is carefully preparing herself before diving into the unknown. She begins by reading the Book of Myth, which is full of old stories and the belief that the society has passed upon the men, women, and on how the world works. These myths are what shapes how the people think of themselves and the other. And by reading them, by knowing them, she's making sure that she knows all about the assumptions, all about the ideas that she is gonna be challenging. This also shows that before facing the truth, one must know about its knowledge and be very aware. Next, she prepares her camera. This is not just any tool for taking picture. The camera symbolizes the need to observe very carefully and to see things as clearly as it is, and to record the reality. She also checks on her knife, and the knife is the symbol of courage and clarity. It represents the ability to control all the illusions, all the lies, and to get beneath the truth. Then she put on a rubber suit, flippers, and mask. These are the items that is going to protect her from the water, but more importantly, they are going to prepare her for emotional and mental challenges of facing the unknown. The suit, the mask, they act like a shield, helping her to feel safe when she encounters a thing that could be difficult or shocking. And then finally, the stanza emphasizes that she is alone. She's not like Costu, who would dive with a team with a bright, sunlit ship. Being alone highlights the discovery of truth is very personal, and that it requires quite a lot of focus, patience, careful preparation, and lots of courage. The stanza itself teaches us that exploring new ideas, confronting hidden truth, or challenging myth is a very serious task. And it is not something to be rushed upon, and rather that it needs careful thought and readiness. There is the ladder. The ladder is always there, hanging innocently, close to the side of the schooner. We know what it is for, we who have used it otherwise. It is a piece of maritime floors, some sundry equipment. In the second stanza, the diver notices a ladder by the side of the ship. At first, it might seem very ordinary and even unimportant, but for the diver, it has a great deeper meaning. The ladder is a connection between the safe, familiar, and the unknown, mysterious world below, because it is the path that leads to discovery. And above the ladder is a surface world where myths, comfortable stories, and half-truths, all of them exist. But below the ladder is the deep water, full of hidden truths. They are often ignored or forgotten. Climbing down the ladder is an act of choice and courage. And it also shows that discovering the reality needs willingness to leave the comfort and face the uncertainty. The ladder is always there, hanging very quietly. Many people might see it but ignore it, treating it as a very ordinary equipment. But for a diver, they know its purpose. Step by step, rug by rug, she descends carefully, showing the meaningful exploration is deliberate and very slow. Each moment counts. Real understanding cannot be rushed. This stanza also teaches us that during the discovery of the truth, the time and the persistence and the patience, these all are very necessary. And it is not just about physical act of climbing, but it is also about the mental and emotional effort to move toward understanding. It has come to remind us that the opportunity to learn, question and explore, they are always available. But only those who take it seriously will reach the deeper inside. I go down rung after rung and still the oxygen immerses me, the blue light. The clear autumns of our human air, I go down. My flippers cripple me. I crawl like an insect down the ladder, and there is no one to tell me when the ocean will begin. In this stanza, the diver begins to slowly descend into the deep sea. The ladder that seems very ordinary now has become a lifeline. Now it is not just any physical tool, but it is a symbol of the path to the hidden truth. Each rung she climbs down represents a step toward understanding. It is a very careful choice that leaves the safety and the comfort to the surface behind. The ladder also connects two very different worlds. Above is the surface full of myths, familiar stories, and ideas that have been passed down. But below is the unknown, full of discoveries that may challenge everything that she has ever known. So that's why the act of climbing shows courage and deliberate effort. She also must be very patient and mindful with which each and every moment, because the journey is at all not simple. Stanza emphasizes that the real discovery does not happen very quickly, and that the every steps and the process itself is as important as the destination. Many people may see the ladder, but they choose not to climb it. The diver's choose to descend reminds us that seeking the truth requires intentional action and bravery. It teaches that leaving the comfort behind and heading to uncertainty is necessary for growing, learning, and for deeper understanding. First, the air is bubble, and then it is bluer, and then greener, and then black. I am blackening out, and yet my mask is powerful. It pumps my blood with power. The sea is another story. The sea is not a question of power. I have to learn alone to turn my body without force in the deep element. As the diver goes deeper, the lights around her changes. First the water is very blue, then greener, then eventually turning black. These gradual changes represent the transition from the familiar to the unfamiliar, the unknown. The darkness is not just about the absence of light. It is about the hidden truths of life, history, and identity that are often forgotten or ignored. Here she is completely on her own. She cannot rely on anyone to guide her. She must move very carefully, adapt to her surrounding, and trust herself. The sea cannot be controlled because it is very powerful and unpredictable. She must learn to move without the force, letting her body and her mind adjust to a new environment. The darkness also teaches patience and resilience. Because as she descends, it is very easy to forget the purpose of the history and to get distracted by the life that has always existed in the sea, the plants, the fish, and the current. Yet she keeps her goal in her mind. This shows that the discovering of the truth is not easy. It can be very confusing, overwhelming, or even frightening, but it is necessary. This stanza reminds us that to truly understand the hidden realities, whether in history, society, or ourselves, we must be willing to leave the familiar behind and face all the uncertainty and persist carefully. The journey into the unknown is very slow, deliberate, and demanding. but it is the only way to reach the goal, knowledge and the understanding. And now it is easy to forget what I came for, among so many who have always lived here, swaying their crenulated fans between the reefs, and beside you, you breathe differently down here. In the fifth stanza, the diver keeps moving downward, rung by rung, step by step. The descent is very slow. Adrienne Rich shows to be discovering truth, not as happening very quickly or easily. Each step is very small and important, and each moment, all of them counts. Real understanding, whether about history, society or oneself, it is a gradual process. The letter supports her as she goes. Even when she is surrounded by the darkness, by the water, the uncertainty, she has a steady path to follow. This reminds us that in life, when things are becoming very confusing or overwhelming, there is usually some guidance or support or tools to help us to move forward. There can be knowledge, courage, mentors or very careful observation. And this is how the letter acts in our own journey. Rich also emphasizes on the persistence and patience. Sometimes the path is very lonely and it feels like we are the only one moving forward. But every careful step brings us closer to the understanding. This stanza teaches us that facing difficult truth requires determination. We cannot rush, we cannot skip steps. We must be deliberate, mindful and courageous in our approach. I came to explore the wreck. The words are purposes, the words are maps. I came to see the damage that was done and the treasures that prevail. I stroked the beam of my lamp slowly along the flank of something more permanent than fish or weed. And finally, in the stanza 6, the diver reaches the wreck, the very purpose of our journey. The wreck is not beautiful in a way that we usually imagine. Treasure, it is very old, broken and covered in darkness. Adrienne Rich wants us to understand the truth is rarely neat or polished. Real understanding can be very uncomfortable, messy or even sad. The wreck represents the hidden reality of history, especially in the woman's history, which has often been ignored, erased or distorted. It holds the stories of the struggle, the contribution that was never celebrated or remembered. By reaching the wreck, the diver bears witness to these lost truths. Importantly, the diver is focused on the wreck itself, not the myth, not the stories behind it. Many people relies on the myth, legends or simplified versions of the reality because it can be very easier to accept, but she wants to see for what it really is, unfiltered and honest. This teaches us an important lesson. The real understanding comes from direct experience and observation, not from what the other people say or what is convenient to believe. This stanza reminds us that discovery often requires courage. It is about facing the uncomfortable, broken, and the forgotten. And only by confronting the reality directly, we can learn, reflect, and grow. The thing I came for, the wreck and not the story of the wreck. The thing itself and not the myth. The dawn face always staring toward the sun. The evidence of damage worn by salts and sway into this threadbare beauty. The ribs of the disaster curving their assertion among the tentative haunters. This is stanza 7. In this, Adrienne Rich focuses on language and helps the diver to navigate her journey. The words that she uses are not just sounds or symbols. They are like maps or guides that help her find her way in the dark and in the unfamiliar design or the depth. Words point a path towards understanding, but they are not the truth themselves. They guide, but they cannot replace the direct experience. The diver understand the words can be misleading. Maps show the way, but they are not the land itself. Similarly, the story, the histories and myths, they can guide us, But if they're based on the false ideas, they can be very deceptive. And this is why the diver carries a camera and a knife. These are the tools that would help her to verify for herself. She does not rely on what she has been told. This stanza teaches us an important lesson. Language is powerful, but it should be used wisely. Words can help us to understand and communicate, but real truth comes from observation, experience, and careful reflection. The diver demonstrates that the curiosity, awareness, and independent thinking, they are all essential for discovering what is real. In simple terms, this stanza teaches us that the words help, but seeing and experiencing it yourself is what truly matters. This is the place, and I am here, the mermaid whose dark hair streams black, the merman in his almond body. We circle silently about the wreck, we dive into the hold. I am she, I am he. Stanza 8. Now the diver finally reaches the wreck. This is the moment of truth, the culmination of the long journey. The wreck is broken, old, and covered in the darkness. It is not glamorous, but it is real. Adrienne Rich emphasizes that understanding reality is often uncomfortable. Truth is not just always perfect or easy to look at. The wreck represents the hidden histories, the realities, especially the histories of the woman, which has been ignored, erased, or distorted. By observing it carefully, the diver honors what has been forgotten. She does not judge upon the wreck. She studies it. She pays attention to the detail, its damage, and the remnants. This stanza also shows us that confronting reality can bring emotions. It could be sadness, reflection, or even awe. Wreck is full of meaning, and seeing it teaches patience, attention, and respect. Rich reminds us that we cannot learn and grow by ignoring the past. We must face it directly, understand it deeply, and recognize its value. In short, this stanza shows us that the real discovery and understanding come only when we are willing to look closely, to reflect, and to acknowledge the truth that so far has been hidden or overlooked. Whose drawn face sleeps with open eyes, whose breast still bear the stress, whose silver, copper, vermeil cargo lies obscurely inside barrels. Half-wedged and left to rot, we are the half-destroyed instrument that once held to a cause. The water-eaten logs, the fold compact. In stanza 9, the diver emphasizes that she is after the wreck itself, and not the stories or the myths that people used to tell about. It is a very important distinction. Society often offers simplified, comfortable, or flattering versions of reality. These are made so that the past can be easily acceptable, but hides the real detail. The struggles, the sacrifices, and truths that were erased or forgotten. The diver's mission is to see the reality directly without any distortion. She is not interested in myths or explanations made by the other. This teaches us a very important lesson. To understand anything deeply, be it history, gender, or personal experiences, we must go beyond what we are told. We have to observe, we have to question, and we have to experience it firsthand ourselves. This stanza reminds us that the truth is uncomfortable and messy. It is rarely neat or perfect, but the real understanding is always worth it. Accepting only the story is very easy, but that doesn't give us the true insights. The driver's courage to face the reality inspires us to do the same in our own lives. We are, I am, you are. By cowardice or courage, the one who find our way back to this scene, carrying a knife, a camera, a book of myths in which our names do not appear. In the final stanza, then, the focus shifts from I to we. The journey is no longer about the diver only. It becomes a collective experience. This shows that seeking the truth and confronting the hidden reality is not just about a personal task, but a shared human effort. This stanza teaches us that confronting the reality, questioning myths, and uncovering the truth. This is something that everyone can participate. Men, women, thinker, learner. All those who are willing to face the uncomfortable realities. These are the part of shared history. The diamond represents all of us who takes the responsibility to explore, observe, and learn. Rich also emphasizes that the people approach to the truth differently. Some are brave, some hesitant, but all those who engage in this journey contribute to a larger understanding. This collective approach reminds us that seeking the truth is not just about personal growth. It is also about rewriting history, challenging social myths, and honoring the voices that have been silenced or ignored. In short, this stanza closes the poem with a powerful message. Discovery, awareness, and courage, they are solitary facts. They belong to all those who are willing. Diving into the wreck reminds us that the deepest truths often lie beneath the surface, waiting to be discovered. Facing them takes courage, patience, and honesty with ourselves and the world around us. The poem also shows that discovery isn't just about facts. It's about understanding, empathy, and seeing life as it really is. It encourages reflection, resilience, and the quiet bravery to explore what has been hidden. So thank you everyone for staying with me throughout this journey. I hope that it sparked a little bit of curiosity, a little bit of imagination, and maybe a little bit of deeper look into your own stories. Thank you very much.